Hey, y'all. Welcome to your show.
Don't be a victim.
I'm Lee Turner Jr. of Tango Firearms Training.
And I'm Buddy Myers of Tall Guns.
Welcome back. Been a pretty good week for us all here over in Alabama. How about you, buddy?
Well, it's been enjoyable here in Colorado. It's starting to we're starting to get cold. We might actually see snow here in the next day or two. Here we are in the morning of the 80th commemoration of the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, and we still don't have any measurable snow in the northern Colorado or the Denver area.
Yeah, I heard that was on a cargo ship out in the bay somewhere. They're supposed to be dropping it off anytime soon on y'all.
Well, no, actually, Lee, they've only got 42 ships now in the harbor. The only thing they don't tell you now, there's 150 of them. They're staging it 100 miles out because that's how we solved the problem now on the supply chain. Instead of letting them into the harbor where everybody can see, we've got them queued up further out so that the press and everybody else can't see them. So we fixed the problem.
Well, down here in Bammy, our snow is rain. We've had a pretty rainy week this week. Luckily, got my gutters put on the house, so no more rain falls, and I don't have to have your sister-in-law tell me I need some rain barrels.
To collect water. Yeah.
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 But, like Buddy was saying, this is remember Pearl Harbor. Today's the National Remembrance Day of Pearl Harbor and all the sailors and the Marines and airmen that lost their lives over there on this day. Just take time to reflect. Most of them are passed away now. I don't think there's too many left. I know on past Friday, the last officer of Easy Company, did you hear about that? He passed away. Of the movie Band of Brothers that was created on HBO series. I believe he was the last remaining officer out of the Easy Company. He just passed away last Friday.
Of the 501st to the 101st.
Yeah. Easy Company. I can't remember if he was in the 101st or the 501st, but.
It was the 101st Airborne, 501st Regiment,
okay.
Parachute Regiment of the Easy Company they're in.
So, a lot of our World War II veterans are gone. The sacrifices they made for our country is, coming to, hopefully it doesn't come to an end in remembrance is what I'm trying to get at. As times things fade, but we should always remember those gentlemen and women who fought for World War II and gave us the freedoms we still trying to cling to today.
Yep, never forget. Never forget.
I think we got a pretty good show lined up. One thing I want to kind of mention, because it's going to kind of go with our show today, is Alec Baldwin. He said he did not fire. He did not put his finger on the trigger. So, there's no way he could not have put his finger on the trigger with a single action. And we're going to be talking about locking up your firearms today at some point.
Yeah, I don't know how. I had a class Saturday, and I actually showed the folks in that class about the single action revolver and how they work. And, I'm sorry, I may be a little more informed than most because I am a certified gunsmith. There ain't no way you can cock a single action revolver and it falls back down unless the gun was broken. The gun had been manipulated and changed outside of factory specs just for some stupid movie that maybe they wanted to use it for fanning. That's where you take your hand over the top and you hit fast, but you hold the trigger down when you fan. So the only way that gun, if it was a standard single-action revolver that shouldn't have been there in the first place, for it to fire, you'd have to be holding the trigger down as you cocked it back and that it would drop. That's the only way. That's the only way.
Yeah. We all know he's trying. He's a anti-gun and anti-2A, and now he's crying that he didn't pull the trigger. Okay, we know you did. We know you put your finger. Anyone that had any kind of gun smarts understands he put his finger on the trigger. But you're going to try to cover your tailpipe in these situations the best you can, and I guess coming on and lying to the American people, he knows that a good majority of the American people have been sucking up the lies from the government. So why not he join in on that bandwagon?
Well, he's going to have to be careful because, he's heading into the land of civil liability. Yeah, he's in the land of, possibly potentially damaging a jury pool that could be, if this heads to a criminal case or a civil case, that could cause him all kinds of problems.
And there's one thing Buddy and I teach, one of the number one rules, don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to pull the trigger. And hopefully he was not ready to pull the trigger, pointing it at that poor woman. And I believe someone else was hit.
Well, yeah, the assistant director and
the
cinematographer both were shot in that event. But it's one of those things, is there were multiple safety violations. There was multiple foolishness in that situation. Just senseless, stupid, short-cutting, complacent activity. And you don't get complacent because complacency kills.
Yeah. I watched a video from a Hollywood firearms instructor who trains actors and stuff. And he said he would have shut that scene down quickly just for, like you said, multiple safety violations.
Yeah, they're supposed to do a safety briefing before any filming. Happens all the time. Even if you did it the day before, you do it again before the scenes. And I've heard no mention about the safety briefings, let alone there should have never been a real gun on the scene. As we talked about in the show, this show a couple of episodes ago about the different types of guns that are there. I mean, I'm sorry. We don't have to hash back over it. Should have never happened. Gun should have never been there. There shouldn't have been any live ammunition. Person didn't do their job. Multiple people didn't do their job. It just criminal neglect.
Yeah. Now we'll see where the accountability lies. Yeah. But I know we wanted to get into talking about today. What we want to talk about is little concealed carry versus open carry. And then we also want to get into locking up your firearms because, as some of you have seen, now you can be liable for someone getting hold, as the Michigan couple found out.
Well, or that's the attempt to be liable, because that's that's still going to be a matter to go through the courts. But again, I think there's criminal liability and then there's the civil liability piece. You might be a little bit of a stretch, and we're going to have to watch how this plays out with the criminal charges, but they very well could be exposed for any potential civil liability that can occur, and we'll talk about that more here in a couple of minutes. And speaking of a couple of minutes, we're going to take our very first break, and then we'll come back after a bit. All right, we're back from break. Go ahead, Lee. Let's talk about open versus concealed carry.
Yeah, because, down here in Alabama, we have both. You can conceal carry and there's also open carry. And as I well know, it's the same way in Colorado. You can open carry and versus concealed carry. And we get asked a lot by people, especially the new beginners, who's getting into firearms. What do we feel is the best? Is concealed carry versus open carry? And in my opinion, and I'm going to let Buddy speak on his, to me, it's depending on the situation that I'm putting myself into. What do I need to feel? Do I need to conceal carry today, or my activities say, oh, I'm going to open carry? But there is advantages and disadvantages to both.
Yeah, I mean, here's kind of my position on, open versus concealed. Open carry, I do carry open here around the office complex because I am providing security services to all the tenants that are here in the facility by being here. It's nothing I've signed up for, nothing I contracted, but 95% of my tenants here in these two buildings are females. And I'm using it as a deterrent strategy to let anybody who's stupid enough to come around here to do something that they're going to be met with extreme force, with extreme prejudice if they try to do something foolish. The other side on open carry, if I'm hunting or I'm working on a farm or a ranch, I'm going to open carry because if I've got that grizzly bear decides he wants to have me for lunch, I don't want to have to be messing around with a coat. If I'm working out, baling hay or something, again, I don't want to be worrying about trying to hide underneath the shirt while you're baking in the darn sun anyway.
Yep.
Now that I'll carry open. But when it comes to being about, out and amongst the general population, I'm not a fan of open carry.
No, me neither.
I've been in 3 armed robberies, 1 civilian-based shooting, and I'll tell you what, if I'd have been with a gun easily exposed in one of those robberies, I wouldn't be here today, because if I was the bad guy and I came in and I saw a gun, the first person I'm shooting is the person with the gun, i.e. the open carrier. The next one's the one with the badge. Because
very good point, Mary. That was a very good point you made about that, buddy. Because, like, let's just break it down like this with the open carry. Two of the advantages: speed, you don't have clothes hindering you. And two, could it be a deterrent? Yes. But there he goes. Like Buddy said, probably not a deterrent. If the bad guy walks in thinking, I'm about to do my damage, and he sees it on your hip, you're going to be his number one priority.
Yeah, you're going to be the escalator of the event. It's going to cause it to go bad faster, in my opinion, and based upon everything I've ever seen, that, oh, God, there's a gun, start shooting, cranking rounds. Because I'm sorry, we're not living in the 1950s, 60s anymore, folks. Bad guys are armed, and they'll take your life as soon as they look at you.
That's why I like to call the concealed carry, and that's why I so enjoyed instructing tall guns as concealed carry permit class, is because I do consider it your ace in the hole. You don't have to present it until if you need to present it. You got the gun on your hip, it's exposed. Now you're under pressure. People are watching. Do I pull it? Do I not pull it? Now you don't have that pressure. It's your ace in the hole. You decide when to pull it. And if you need to even pull it, you may not even need to pull it.
No, if you've got, just because you got it doesn't mean you have to draw it. You got to do it in such a way that if I do it, that one, I am prepared to take all the responsibilities. And we kind of talked about this last week and the week before, but that I'm going to prevail, not just survive or lose this encounter, because you could actually make it worse. And who's around? What's the collateral damage? You're prepared to do it. You train like you intend to fight, and hope to God you never do. But, if you got to draw it, that you're prepared to make sure that I'm going to negate the threat as swiftly as I can. If you don't know that you can do that, then let's not play the role of the fool. Yeah,
because, as my personal preference, anytime I'm at a shooting range, I'm just practicing or shooting with the shooting team, I'm open carry. I don't have to worry about a mass shooting, because we already know mass shootings don't happen at shooting ranges. No, but when I do enter the civilian, the suicide. But if I am in civilian world, going to Walmart, going out to a restaurant, or traveling around town, I am concealed carry 100% of the time. I want to keep it covered. I don't want the general public faring or being uneasy because they're taking their children out and wanting just to have a good day, and now the emotions you've done ruined their day because they say, well, what's this guy's intent with this handgun? It's not the intent of anymore of, hey, these guys are here because they're 2As and they're going to protect our life. No, that's not people don't see it that way anymore. People fear them when they see them, and you kind of putting that strain on the public.
Yeah, the folks that get concealed carry permits that are carrying their firearms, they've been properly trained. They're following all the legal process and doing everything right. So why not be stealthy? As Lee said, the ace in the hole. Don't let people know you've got the gun, so it becomes a surprise if you do, God forbid, ever have to use it, versus the one that's marching around needing their ego stroked with it hanging on the side of their hip amongst the general public. I mean, I don't want a bad guy to know I got a gun. I want it to be a surprise. Total surprise if I got to use it. Gives me a tactical advantage to help me survive.
That was a very good way you put that, buddy. A tactical advantage to help you survive. Now when you can pick your spot to defend yourself. Because if you don't know you got it, he's not going to be looking your way.
Yeah, or not do it. I can still keep it on me and not have to draw it out. I mean, all these people that have been involved in these shootings, or I shouldn't say have been involved, they talk about, well, if I was there, here's what I do. Well, until you're really there, guys, I'm sorry, it don't work that way. I mean, you make a lot of decisions. When do I do it? Not to do it. Just because I got the gun doesn't mean you have to draw the gun. But if you're going to draw it, understand you better draw it in such a way that you're going to negate that threat and not harm others. Yeah, I almost harken back to what doctors say: do no harm.
And Buddy's said this over and over before. The loss of a driver's license, a credit card, is just time. It's time on you to get those replaced. But if you're inexperienced and you're drawing your firearm out thinking you're going to stop a threat just because he was going to take your wallet and your wallet alone and run off, now you just escalate a situation that all he was going to do was take your wallet and run. And now you're in a gunfight that you're most likely going to lose without the proper training to get that gun out in a timely manner, let alone from being in a concealed position.
And let alone, the point of you, that's the guy that's standing in front of you, because there's a thing we call the rule of one, is that if I've got one adversary, I plan for two. If I've got two, I plan for three. You may have the one in front of you, but do they have a buddy standing across the street who's playing with the role we call as Overwatch, watching out from them that may, in case something goes sideways, they'll shoot you, or they're standing, 10 feet behind them. You don't think they're involved because you're fixated on what's happening with your wallet. Yeah, there's too many things going on here you got to pay attention to. Speaking of paying attention, we're going to take another break here, and we'll be right back. All right, Lee, we're back off our break. So we're talking.
See, people, what we're wanting to try to present to you is just going out and buying you a gun, putting you some bullets in it, and sticking it on your hip. There's so much more responsibility to this than what I just said.
Are you putting
than just
bullets,
going out and buying it?
Are you putting bullets in your gun, Lee?
Rounds.
Putting rounds in your. We're going to have a little remedial education here in a little bit, boy. They are rounds. Rounds have got cases. They've got primers. They've got propellant.
Bullet
the
heads.
bullets are pressed in the end. You do not put bullets in your gun unless they're inside of a round. I tell you what, some people's children,
I know.
I'm going to have to
I've been
talk
away
with
too long.
I still got Mama Turner's phone number. I'm going to call her, and her and I are going to have to talk about re-educating your little sorry butt.
Hey, I've been trying to get settled in down here.
Excuses are like a certain part of the anatomy. We all have got one.
I know. I got certain people who hate when I say that. And I get it turned around on them. But no, people, it's a lot more than just going out and buying that handgun and that box of rounds, and now you got it on your hip. There's a lot more responsibility. And that's one of the reasons why we tried to create these podcasts and the shows that we've been doing, is to educate you, to make you think. And we're not trying to, if you see, we're not trying to sell our classes through them. We want to do this as a public service, this podcast.
Yeah, it's an extra value add we try to provide to our clients and to others. And speaking, Lee's talking about, responsibility. That's a great segue in, and we can spend, the next 7-8 minutes talking about securing your firearms. That's a responsibility that comes with it. I'm going to use this as a caveat. The awful shootings up there in Michigan at the school. The parents who bought a child a SIG SP 2022 who had already demonstrated some issues in regards to firearm ownership and harm to others, but they didn't secure the firearm in the household. It's okay to buy, if you want to buy a younger person that's got their collective, poop in a group, a firearm, that's fine. But you are the adult until they attain the age of 21 or 18, depending, to control the firearm until they're mature enough to handle it and do it right. These folks didn't do that. And they're learning now that not only, one, do they face the potential of, they've got criminal charges against them for, 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, which could set a legal precedent across this country about the responsibility of firearms owners. It has happened before. This isn't the first case, but certainly about the civil liability sides to it. You got to lock we've talked about this before in the show. You've got to secure the guns away so the people that are not trained or shouldn't have them can't gain access to them, because you are the enabler. You are responsible for the act that they conduct by giving them
a holster is not a lockbox.
Oh, God, no. God, no.
Okay, just because you stick it in a holster, stick it on top of your nightstand, does not mean that firearm is secure.
Yeah, you got to have a locking box, and it can't be one that's a simple, well, here's the key, I locked it, and then you tell Junior where in the hell the friggin' key's at. You got to have it secured away, or it has a combination, or it has biometrics to it, but it's secured away where they can't get access to it. Or somebody breaks in your home that they can't get easy access to it. It's a responsibility you've got to the rest of humanity, that you've got to yourself, you've got to the rest of your family. Secure the firearm, especially, with the criminal element. young people, oh my God, raging hormones. I am so glad that my kids are not in that, age of, 12 to, 19 years old where the hormones are raging like crazy and they're about as stable as a house of cards. It's, would make sure that things are secured away.
Yep.
I mean, just
And
take away the options.
And I'm sure some of you out there are thinking right now, well, damn, what does it good to do me if I got to lock it up and it's 2:00 in the morning and a bad guy breaks in my home? There's a way to do it. There's a lot of, definitely now, a lot of good lock boxes out there that gives you speed of access to get into it. I keep one on my nightstand. So when my fiance's girls are here, I keep it locked up. There's good lock boxes out there that gives you the speed that you need to get into it for you. I'm not a fan of the number pad. I'm not. I would much rather go with a fingerprint, but I'm a key guy. I like to, and before I go to bed, I'll may place my key right there inside the lock. But then if somebody would come into my bedroom, I'm going to know it. I'm not a hard sleeper, let's say. I'm a very easy sleeper. So to get to my gun and get it out of my lock box, that's going to be a hard thing for you to do. But if you are a hard sleeper, now you might want that fingerprint pad. But once you talk about that, where the solvents of fingers could be bad on those types, buddy.
Oh, yeah, your fingerprints. I mean, as we age, our fingerprints get shallower. And if you program it in a humid environment, all of a sudden the humidity goes down, your fingerprints get shallower, and you may have a difficulty trying to open it. And that can be a challenge. So, likely I'm not a big fan of combinations. I've got enough PIN codes, this code, that code. I got to remember some things. I don't want to have to remember one how to get my farm. I use a keyed box in my car. Now at home, I'm kind of fortunate. I have a different solution that Lee didn't have. I just raised mine all up and got them the hell out of the house. So they're my and they're quite a bit older, and one of them is a Marine, so it's like I've got that covered. When my grandson does come, though, I've got him up and put away. Even though he's trained on the guns, it's like, no, I'm just not going to take any chances of things that just happen with kids. Just not going to do it. So they're locked in those boxes.
And I'm sure that couple up there thought they could trust their son. And you're probably looking over at your child right now. I can trust my child. I bet they probably thought the same thing too. I mean, with this cancel culture and the woke culture going on, who knows who's gotten to your child at school and put stupid things in their heads.
Lee, the bad
to make
thing
them
is
think
about this kid in Michigan, he had a history of problems, and mom and dad selected to ignore it.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. That's just crazy.
The stuff. I mean, I was listening, this morning and last night, and it's like, holy crap! Child Protective Services have been out there. Social service have been out. Who I want to know, who ought to be part of this whole thing, is why did you charge your parents? Why in the hell didn't you charge the school people that knew this kid had problems? They had him in the office altogether. He left with he had the gun in the backpack. Why? The school ought to be involved too. They ought to, those school officials, they ought to be charged with something too. I'm sorry.
It's right now the government, the anti-2As, they're going to try to make a stance with this one. It's not mental health problem. It's not the children's problem. It's the guns problem. It's the parents' problem, but yet parents are not allowed to discipline their children.
Well, this one I would tell you is probably is a mental health problem, and it's a parent problem trying to be their child's friend instead of being their parent.
Yeah.
But just can't do that. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. But they're not going to bring that up. They're not going to bring up it's a mental health problem because they're going to want to try to prove their woke opinion on why we should just ban guns all together. And
that's always where they go. Go. Well,
but
we've been at this, Lee, for 24 minutes, a little over. It's probably time for us to call this a day for this episode. And next week we ought to kind of watch what unrolls here between all the snatch and grabs. We've talked about that before. Now they've gotten a little bit more brazen where they're actually robbing people at Christmas parties and very expensive neighborhoods. Things are escalating. Now all of a sudden we're hearing a lot different tone coming about, we need the police. Things are going bad in Beverly Hills. We need more police. and just watch that for this week and come back and talk a little bit about that and about some new guns and new tools that are out there we'll talk about.
That sounds good. That'll be a good topic for next week.
Yeah.
You know, and definitely people with these snatch and grabs are going on, and the way, especially with the holiday season, you're going to be shopping. Snatch and grab can be out of your hand. This just not breaking a glass counter. So as always, watch your six, watch your family six, and just watch your friends six. And like I always say, as long as you have our Lord and Savior in your life, 6 feet ain't so far down.
And folks, remember, freedom was not won on the battlefield, but it's won in the classroom and in the home. Make sure you know what you teach your kids about firearm safety. And until next week, y'all take care, and we'll be back. Good day.